there, all you beautiful Texans. Welcome back to the James Show. It's News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Let's go. Man, we got a big speech tonight. Donald Trump's doing it's not the State of the Union. It's just like an address to a joint session of Congress. It'll be the State of the Union when he does it at this time next year. I just think the first year he's there, he's only been there for like 3 weeks. And so officially it's just a joint session of Congress. But this is the first time we've had sort of like this official setting where he's going to go out and the whole world's going to pay attention, or at least the part of the world that pays attention to such things. The networks are going to be on him, and he's going to read off the teleprompter for, I'm guessing, about an hour or so. And then Team Red's going to say that was awesome. Team Blue's going to say that was scary and fascistic. And I'll just be breaking down some of the audio highlights for you on tomorrow's show. But one of the things that he has sort of he's chummed the water with is he says he has a big announcement tonight. Oh, that's my first guess about that. Connor Vasile's back on from Young Voices. What do you think this big announcement he has is going to be, Connor?
Well, it could be a lot of things, but if I had to put my money on it, I'd say it's something regarding either NATO or Ukraine.
Yeah, so the headline that's probably dominant right now is what's going on with tariffs. Do you think he's going to do much to address that?
I think tariffs will definitely come into play at some point in the speech tonight. I don't think it's going to be the main point. There's just too much stuff going around the world at the moment for him to just talk about tariffs, but we'll see how that comes into play. I'm sure he's going to roll a few new ones out. We all know how he is.
Yeah, the only thing I've really been disappointed with thus far is this whole Epstein list thing. Other than that, I'm amused at this attempt that no one voted for this. No, this is kind of exactly what everyone voted for. They wanted cuts. They wanted people to lose their job in D.C. That's what limited government means.
Absolutely. I mean, it shouldn't come to anyone as a surprise who voted for him that this is exactly what he's doing, because he literally said this is what he's doing. You know, he has increasing approval ratings throughout the various demographics and age groups. And with that, I have to say that, yeah, I agree, sir. The whole Epstein debacle, this is curious to say the least. I know Pam Bondi just came out and said that they're redacting certain national security concerns regarding those.
I don't like
documents.
that. Yeah,
I don't know what that means, but hey, it must be serious if the Trump administration is hesitant to release something.
So we also have the ability for one of these State of the Union addresses or joint address of the joint session of Congress to create controversy. Do you think Trump's going to try to avoid to step in some potholes, or do you foresee him stepping into some places where he probably shouldn't go?
I mean, he might. We know that regardless, as you just mentioned before, regardless of what he says or how he says it, they're always going to spin in a certain way. I am actually thinking that most of the controversy could actually come from the invitations that they sent out for the guests. So we all know that the White House, they sent out invitations for those victims of migrant crime, violent crime, the people who are affected by the economy and so forth. And then you have Democrats like Chuck Schumer, who's inviting laid off federal workers. So it just shows you where their priorities are, I guess.
Yikes. Yeah, so we have 3 Texans that have been invited to be in the building for the address tonight. Trump's guests from Texas are Alexis Nungare. She's the mother of Jocelyn Nungare, the 12-year-old murdered by the 2 illegals from Venezuela down in Houston. We have a U.S. Border Patrol agent from Weslaco, and actually from the listening area of WBAP out in Aledo, there's Elliston Berry. She's a 15-year-old student who was the victim of computer-generated deepfake images from a school bully. So that's, uncharted territory for something 10 years ago, but now something we have to deal with. So, the guests look like nothing too controversial there.
Yeah, I mean, definitely from who the White House was inviting, definitely they want to make sure that people who are affected by either bad policy positions or just politics in general are invited, and they get to show their faces and make their concerns known. But just this disconnect we have between our bureaucracy and the regular American citizen, we're just seeing exactly where certain people's priorities are. And as you mentioned, sir, regardless of how this goes, people are going to spin it one way or the other. I'm just hoping whatever announcement he has is going to be something of action and not just tough talk.
So we have the rebuttal that's going to come up after the speech tonight. Alyssa Slotkin of Michigan.
Right.
Who is this?
She's, from what I know, she's a new senator, I believe, new congressperson. I'm sure that's going to go viral. That's going to get a lot more clicks and views than Trump's actual address. But, it's just PR at this point, I think. Nothing really to scratch your head about.
Well, yeah, but this is that sort of second level of politics where you use an opportunity like this to develop a bench. The Republicans tried this with, what was her name, Carrie Britt. Remember her? And she kind of got like a little too dramatic on stage. And I think that stunted her chances of doing anything bigger. But I think that this is like a tryout role. They're going to see if Alyssa Slotkin, this new senator from Michigan, can fill in some of that power vacuum that's left, because the Democrats have no one at the top. Like, who is their front runner? Who is their vanguard right now? Who's their biggest name? Like, seriously, not just a rhetorical question. Connor Vassell, who is their biggest name?
Well, you might laugh at this, but I think Gavin Newsom is their best bet.
No, there's no laughing at that. That's a legit answer. We've been seeing a whole lot of media attention be paid to the lady I'm in her district right now, Jasmine Crockett. And, we may not like what she says politically, but I think she does a really good job. And her media hits are super effective. I think she might be in that front runner status, even though she's a relatively unknown.
I mean, that's always probable. I mean, as we see with the game of politics, it all depends on how much outreach you're able to garner, right? So if you have a local player who's pretty effective, she's doing what she needs to do, and she's making some results, then yeah, she could climb that ladder. But at the end of the day, unfortunately, the whole political machine, as we've seen with the DNC these past few election cycles, they're not very transparent with who they pick or who can run. So, we'll just have to see. I don't want to make any quick predictions right here, but at this point, what the Democrats need to do is make themselves more accessible and a little bit more sane. So that's why you see people like Newsom with his podcast and whatnot. He's trying to reach out. Will that work?
All right. Thank you very much, Connor Vassell. I appreciate it. How do we find your work online?
Thank you. You can find my work online on Amazon. The state knows best, and I'm Joe Biden in his own words. You can also follow me on Twitter X at Connor_Vasile.
Thank you, sir. It's been floated by U.S. House of Representatives Brandon Gill that perhaps we should put Trump on the $100 bill. This is something I've had an opinion about, but it just never comes up. Yeah, I don't want to shoehorn this in here, but we do have a problem with who's on our money. And it's not that I don't think Abraham Lincoln's fantastic or George Washington is fantastic or, John F. Kennedy or whoever else is on different random coins. The problem is this is a weird pattern that gets established over and over in history. The whole coin thing. It's amazing whether it's like the old Persian Empire or everyone likes to use the Roman Empire. It still counts. And there's about 18 other iterations of this where when an empire starts and it grows and it gets bigger and it gets stronger, that it starts out usually with real money. There's a gold standard or a silver standard. There's, hard metals, and it's not a fiat currency like we have now. But there's something else that goes along with it. Not only do they eventually decide that they're going to go on a spending spree and debase the currency and it loses 99% of its value over the last 100 years, Fed. But what's on the money changes. If you go look up the 10 oldest coins in American history. They have the first 10 coins. I just double checked the list so I didn't sound like an idiot because I haven't really looked into this in a couple years. But it's still true. None of them have a human being on them. This idea that we put past presidents and, sometimes people who are not quite presidents, but still statesmen, Ben Franklin, Alexander Hamilton, they weren't technically presidents, but they get to be on money. We didn't used to revere human beings. We didn't used to revere our fellow man. We didn't used to revere government and leaders and king-like figures. Almost all of these have Lady Liberty on them. Did you know that? Not even a real human being, just the concept of Lady Liberty. In fact, when we got the Statue of Liberty in 1880s or whenever that was, this was like a stand-up representation of the lady that's been on our money for the entirety of the country's history up to that point. And just like the Romans started one day, they just started, hey, let's put our emperor on the coin. This will be something that we didn't ever worship human beings like this. The concept of state and governance was always up to these ethereal concepts: natural law, Lady Liberty, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, natural rights. Your rights didn't come from Congress or from that guy that's sitting in office. So not only do I think we need to not put Trump on the $100 bill, we need to start taking off all the human beings and going back and not worshiping the state, not worshiping human beings, not worshiping and yearning for the concepts of the fealties of man, but the concepts that can't be beaten, the concepts that are time immemorial. They can't be forgotten. Lady Liberty, let's put her back on there. We can do her. We can do like that Justice Lady, the one that's blindfolded holding the scales. I don't know. One of these old coins had like a sundial and stuff on it. A lot of eagles. Eagles are a big player in the old coinage motif. I think we need to start studying up and stop making the same mistakes previous civilizations do, so we can kind of stay at the top and not just cycle down like we're expected to. So what do you think? Should Trump be on the $100 bill? Should anybody be on the $100 bill? What do you think of my idea of removing presidents from all the money? 800-288-9227. This is Larry in Dallas. What do you think about Trump on the $100 bill?
Well, James, it can't happen because they passed a law a number of years ago that in order to be on the money, you have to first be dead.
Yeah, so I think in this bill, it's written that whenever Trump dies, he will be on the $100 bill.
Well, here's something to consider.
Yeah.
How many Democrats would you, if this were to come to pass, how many Democrats would be out there on YouTube and Twitter and X or whatever burning $100 bills because his picture was on there?
Zero. Look, here's why this is a problem. And this, our founding fathers recognized this. Previous civilizations usually recognize it too late. The problem is if we put Donald Trump on the $100 bill, then there's going to be a big push to get the next Democrat on the dollar bill, or maybe they'll replace George Washington with Obama on the dollar bill. And you know what you've done now? You've made your currency an object of political propaganda. And that's not what it's supposed to be. That's very distracting. Politics ruins everything it touches. So the further you can keep that away from our monetary supply, Federal Reserve, the better. But, we've already gone through the first mistake, and that's where we've gotten away from a hard currency, a gold or silver standard, and we've gone to a fiat currency to where now, our coins aren't made of silver. It's like zinc with the thin plating of silver over it for your quarter. And, we're like halfway down the usual cycle of empires rising and collapsing.
Well, you do have some valid points there. I mean, it's like when the Republicans impeached Bill Clinton. Well, now the Democrats have to impeach the president.
Yeah, y'all opened that Pandora's box. That wasn't very fun, was it? Yeah, that's the same way I feel about that. So what do you think about my idea of returning money, taking human beings off, and putting on these concepts that back up our rights and our liberties and the foundational principles of the country?
I think that's an outstanding idea.
All right. I don't hear anyone else saying that. David over here on Facebook says, look, even though that's a great idea, anything to drive the left crazy. How about we leave everything alone? Why do we think now everything needs to change? Because, David, politics has just, like a black mold, just creeped in and ruined everything in modern American culture. Like, I can't even watch an NFL football game without seeing end racism or whatever in the end zone, or someone's got to take a knee or hold up a fist or lecture me at halftime. It's everywhere. And I think maybe it was. We just weren't as well attuned to it before. All right, my next guest is going to help make some sense of what's going on and the effects that are happening from some of the headlines. You see the tariff news take over a lot of the headlines today. Well, Chris Coriel, he's a construction industry expert. Chris, are you guys worried about these tariffs making your inputs go up and making the cost of building go up? Or do you think this is going to be a temporary convulsion? What are you guys expecting over in the construction world?
Well, we're not necessarily worried about it. It's here, and it's real. So we've been dealing with it pretty much the last 4 years, ever since the pandemic. We've seen rising material costs, and everybody always talks about when are they going to go back down. Well, they're not, and this is just going to escalate it even further. We're expecting 4 to 8% increases across the board in construction industry costs.
So when did all of the big price shocks begin?
We started getting notifications from manufacturers a short time ago, just saying, "Hey, we're expecting tariffs." Metals and aluminums were the first ones. And the reason that metals and aluminums are the first to react to it is because they're high import dependability, they're national security considerations, there's lack of alternatives. So it's a complex interplay between supply, demand, and trade policies which shape the final market outcomes. So we saw it coming. The manufacturers saw it coming. Metals and aluminums were the first to say there's something coming. And we've had notices. In fact, March 1st on at least one of our manufacturers, we already saw a price increase.
Yeah, I remember lumber spiked up like 4 or 5 years ago. How is it doing these days?
Yeah, it's going to climb as well. But I think you're aware that, or most people are aware that we're trying to be more resourceful and dependent on our own resources in the United States for lumber. But it's still going to climb. Every aspect of construction is going to climb due to the tariffs. There's no way to get around it.
What's the one piece that's holding up your construction projects today? Is it windows? Is it doors? Is it bricks? What's the one thing that has the biggest drag?
Well, we're a commercial roofing contractor working across the South. So we work in Oklahoma, Texas, Arkansas, Kansas, Missouri, and Tennessee, and we haven't seen any delays as of yet. But that's a big concern of mine moving forward, because anytime that you have supply-demand issues, and the tariffs will affect that, you're going to see manufacturers and suppliers throughout the United States try to ramp up and produce more internally. You're also going to see the market demand more because they're not going to want to pay tariffs on imported goods. And so if we can't keep up in the United States, the supply becomes low. You either pay the higher price on the tariffs or you wait your turn on the material that's available in the United States. So there isn't one particular component in our roofing systems that is slowing us down right now. We're doing fine, but it's coming.
Well, what about resourcing them from a place that doesn't have tariff issues? Like instead of getting it from China, now we get our shingles from Indonesia or Vietnam or some other player that can manufacture it at a similar cost but doesn't have the tariff wall.
Well, that's definitely an option. I think that the best option, though, is to source American-made. And
right.
even sourcing American-made, and we do that already.
Well, we're expensive workers, Chris.
We are. There's no doubt about it. And especially when you look at the current situation with the border and immigration, I think we're going to become more expensive workers. That's just the reality of it. So rising costs in construction materials are a reality, but so is labor. It's coming too.
Well, I have a feeling this whole tariff convulsion is going to be temporary and we'll find a new normal to adjust to. In the meantime, good luck, Chris Coriel. That sounds like a difficult thing you guys are going through.
I appreciate it very much. It's all about the customer experience and just keeping them informed. But one more thing real quick.
Sure.
The thing that we all have to be aware of is it's like the perfect storm. The tariffs go into effect and the storms that we're experiencing throughout the United States are getting worse and worse, which demands more material. So just expect to see it climb a little bit more, and I don't think this is going to go away for a while.
All right, thank you very much, Chris Coriel. Appreciate you being on the James Show.
Thank you.
Let's look at some DOGE updates, shall we? I am enjoying the DOGE X feed. So if you go to X, what used to be Twitter, at DOGE, DOGE, they are just posting up every once in a while, hey, here's what we found today. And you have never seen transparency like this. Do you know how it was supposed to be like inhumane or just wildly oppressive to make public employees list what they actually did today or what'd you do last week. DOGE is just doing that all day, every day. Well, they missed a couple days here and there, but they're doing that on a regular basis, like on an almost daily basis. So some of their posts from today, they've been digging through Social Security here, Medicare, and Medicaid. So the big three entitlements. Now, this is wildly important for all of you who think or understand how important it is to ever balance the budget. 70% of what our federal government does is just take $1 from one person and give it to another person who didn't work for it. And most of that comes through Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid. And it's the big ones. It's almost $2 trillion worth of our spending every year. 70% of the federal budget is these three programs. So, there's going to be waste, fraud, and abuse all over this. Even if we do get rid of that, I think it's an unsustainable Ponzi scheme. But let's have that argument for a different day. DOGE puts that they found a migrant from Honduras in 2017 used 3 different Social Security numbers to submit 73 Medicare claims totaling $48,000. So you see what they're doing? They're using AI bots to go through the database here and be like, oh, look, this one Social Security number was used 73 times by a guy from Honduras, so that doesn't match the Social Security number that got $48,000 in claims. See, he didn't do a big one. He did 73 little ones that added up to $48,000. Here's another one. Medicare paid $49,000 for a rehab center for a person recorded dead for over a year. Medicaid paid $57,000 in 2020 for a person recorded to have died in 2006. After a warrant was issued for her arrest in 2019, a migrant from Colombia received 3 SBA loans for over $100,000. $99K of that was forgiven. Illegal from Peru received Social Security payments since at least 2007, with all benefit checks being mailed directly to Peru. That is one post from 3 hours ago. Hilarious stuff. Now, DOGE is just throwing this up all day, every day. Now you hear that and you think, wow, that's fantastic. I know that's not going to balance the budget, but you do this thousands and thousands of times over and over and over, and it really starts to add up and make a difference. And even if it doesn't, that's justice. We shouldn't have hard-earned taxpayer dollars going to some dude in Peru that doesn't deserve it, or going to these fake, fraudulent Medicare claims. So that everyone's okay with that, right? Everyone agreed with that. When they voted for Trump, this is exactly what they expected, right? No, that's not what they see on CNN. And so the man who has my dream job, Scott Jennings, is sitting at another panel yesterday, and he is surrounded by 4 people who disagree with him, 3 other guests who disagree with him, and a moderator who disagrees with him. And they are all just floored, like, no one could support this. Are you kidding? You support that? You support what I just read? You're cool with that? So Jennings, just cool as a cucumber, just cool as the other side of the pillow, says a few more sentences and then watches them re-erupt like the volcano at the science fair. Scott Jennings on CNN yesterday.
I think that people did not vote for DOGE. They really didn't. Trump was not coming in there saying, I'm going to slash and burn the entire federal government. He said, I'm going to lower inflation, I'm going to fix the economy, and I'm going to stop the migration at the border. And that's why people voted for him. They didn't vote for Elon Musk and his crazy,
Hang on. I know what you're thinking. Yeah, Elon Musk was behind him on stage, jumping up and down with his hands waving in the air. No one voted for Elon Musk. Are you kidding? Elon was all over the end of it. Elon, I bet you a big chunk of the people who voted for Trump did so specifically for Elon Musk. And no, I think we all wanted these cuts. Every single person that voted for Donald Trump, none of them regret these cuts. They may not like the tariffs, or they may not like some other facet of how he's governing. But I think everyone is on board with getting rid of the global warming coloring book in Nepal or whatever.
Characters, these incels that are running around tearing through the government. It's true. I don't think they care that 500 people got fired they only saved $80 billion or something.
Couple things. One, and a lot of that is not even real savings.
Right.
I mean, they've deleted some of these fictitious numbers that they put on the website, according to the New York Times.
Republicans absolutely voted for this.
Okay, people do not want government waste, that's for sure, but they didn't vote for foresters to get fired.
Look,
yeah, we did. They didn't vote for the parks to be closed.
Look, you
veterans to be fired.
You guys keep trying to create this fantasy land where Donald Trump is not popular, where Republicans are mad.
They're retired.
Republicans are mad.
Can you
They shut down the town halls.
Can you name a single Democrat in Congress who's more popular than Donald Trump right now?
Listen,
Answer, no.
Scott,
the reality is Republicans are so happy with this. They're not upset about it.
No, they
The
are.
American people are happy about what's going on right now because for the first time in a long time, a president said,
Scott,
I'm actually going to reduce the size of
I know you like
point.
numbers and you like polls.
You know, this feels like the Louis Armstrong. Let me do this. I just love that no one voted for this. What do you think we voted for? Oh, that's right. You think we're really Nazis and we're voting for white supremacy and fascism? No, we're actually voting for these government cuts. Maybe if what you're seeing in the real world isn't matching your predictions, maybe you need to go back and reevaluate your worldview. Maybe we're not bloodthirsty, racist, Nazi, apartheid supporting evil people. We just actually want to cut stuff. We actually want to balance the budget. We want to stop wasting taxpayer dollars and sending to all these places that definitely don't help. Anyway, let's go back to CNN. I just love this.
Let's put the poll up. The question is, has Trump had the right priorities since he's been in office? 52% say no, and just 40% say yes. So
his job approval is roughly 50%. Congressional Democrats, 21%.
Okay, he is underwater, and yes, he's more
according
popular.
to us, but not according to the averages.
He's more popular than Democrats, but if you're claiming that everything that he's doing is popular, it's actually very clear in the polling that specifically the DOGE stuff is not popular.
I don't think that's clear cut.
Specifically the economy.
Oh, God, I could listen to that for an hour. I want his job. That's my dream job, just to be surrounded by 4 people who are wrong, telling me the sky is green and grass is blue and people don't like government cuts. Sure. God, I want that job. That sounds so fun. You know, it's kind of hard to argue against the people out there who think that there's an Illuminati and there's a puppet master that's pulling the strings behind the scenes. And the people that you see on TV are just a front. They're just an interchangeable window dressing for a real cabal that's really running things. And damn, they make it hard to argue against people like that when they do things like they did yesterday. So you know what's going on with Trump and Elon and DOGE and cuts and tariffs. So yesterday, 3 different senators, Chuck Schumer, Elizabeth Warren, and Cory Booker. That's obviously for Elizabeth Warren. They put out a video yesterday, and you see this happen like where they use the same talking point. In the election when they all started using the word weird for about 10 days and then you never heard it again, you see them copy each other like that. You see someone put out the talking point, and I don't know if they all get like some memo or if they're all in some WhatsApp group text or something. But it was even further than that. It's even further than just using the same talking point. Like, our democracy's in peril, or this is a bombshell, or the walls are closing in. It's not just a cliche that is reused. It's the whole damn script. And this is curious because Senator Schumer, Senator Warren, Senator Booker, y'all knew you all had the same script. You didn't think we'd put it together, that you guys aren't actually taking a principled position on the issues of the day. You're just reading what you're told to read. And so Elon retweeted it. I think it was this morning when I saw it. And they lined up the videos pretty close. And look, these 3 people, these 3 senators are reading from the same script entirely for 90 seconds. Oh, let me do this.
Starting on day 1.
That ain't true. That's what you just heard. Since day one of Donald Trump's presidency, prices are not down. They're up. Inflation is getting worse. Not better. The prices of groceries, gas, housing, eggs, of essentials.
So it's not just the same material. It's not just the same topics. It's literally the same script. Now, who's writing that script? You don't have to know his name. You could just describe like who you think is behind all this. But this is the same question that we had all of last year on the James Show when Joe Biden would, kind of penguin waddle out there and squint through a 5-minute speech on a teleprompter, not knowing what's going on, reading it for the first time. You could tell, reading his cues, screwing things up. We were asking last year, who's writing what's on the teleprompter? Because that's the guy who's really in control of this country. You know, Joe Biden wasn't in control of this country for the last 4 years. He was a human Roomba, just running around, just knowing if he can say all the words properly on the screen that he probably gets an extra pudding cup or whatever at the end of the day. But this is the same guy, isn't it? The same guy that was writing whatever was on President Putin's teleprompter last year is now having a meeting, handing a script. And I don't know if they physically printed it out. He may be emailing them a PDF, but metaphorically handing a script to senators, telling them this is what you are going to read. These senators are beholden to someone else. Unless they're copying each other, unless maybe Elizabeth Warren wrote this and Chuck Schumer and Cory Booker said, oh, that sounds good. You mind if we use that? And she said, sure. But is there someone that's behind the scenes that's actually pulling the strings? Is there someone else that's back there that's actually in charge? Because for the people who say they want transparency, they say they want authenticity. They want a politician to go out there and actually say what they mean and not just read through some focus test, premeditated, scripted out response. Well, why don't they have a problem with this? Why aren't they running to Trump? That's one of the things you like about Trump. God knows he's not copying what someone else says. God knows nobody's telling him what to do. Like, who could that even be? The puppet master for someone like Trump. But that's wild. All three of them just reading the same script, just straight up reading the same script, putting it out like we weren't going to notice. Man, that's creepy. Like, that doesn't bother you? That doesn't, if you're Elizabeth Warren, you don't mind putting out a video that copies the two guys next to you? It's like, how obvious can you make it that you're not thinking for yourself? The other great Doge/tariff/Trump update, Justin Trudeau, the little effeminate leader of Canada. I really do love Canada, and I really do love Canadians. But my goodness, this guy, what an embarrassment. He says that Trump's and his tariffs are a really dumb thing.
Now I want to speak directly to one specific American, Donald. In the over 8 years you and I have worked together, we've done big things. We signed a historic deal that has created record jobs and growth in both of our countries. We've done big things together on the world stage, as Canada and the U.S. have done together for decades, for generations. And now we should be working together to ensure even greater prosperity for North Americans in a very uncertain and challenging world. Now, it's not in my habit to agree with the Wall Street Journal, but Donald, they point out that even though you're a very smart guy, this is a very dumb thing to do.
Oh, you got us.
We two friends fighting is exactly what our opponents around the world want to see.
Okay, well then seal your border. That's what he's asking. How about reciprocal trade? How about reciprocal tariffs? That's all he's asking for. But no, this is a very dumb thing. How is it dumb? How's it dumb? Is this going to hurt us more than it hurts you? I don't think so. How is this dumb? He doesn't actually tell you. It was all just like an emotional appeal there. And I'm starting to worry for some of our friends out there, because you and I are just like, oh, happy-go-lucky, skipping through. Hey, this is great. There's some parts of the government that are getting cut. We're going to go to reciprocal trade tariffs, and we're making all kinds of progress on different fronts, and we're having a good time. But some of the people around us, some of the people that we're sharing the country with, that we're sharing DFW with, they're not having a good time. I mean, these people, if they've bought into, think of how awful life is if you've really bought into the fact that Donald Trump is a Nazi and Elon Musk also a Nazi. They do the salutes and everything, and they just want to genocide a whole bunch of people, and half the country's going along with it, and they don't get it. They're just wearing the hats. They're wearing the red hats, and they're trying to balance the budget, and they're canceling a global warming, pin the tail on the donkey in Panama, and trying to get the canal back, and trying to close the border. Bro, when's it going to dawn on you? We're not Nazis. We're not doing this because we're racist. We're not doing this because we're bigots. We really just want the government to be smaller. That's all. You don't have to scare the crap out of yourself to understand our position. We want government to be smaller.